About 500 years ago, a young man named Christopher Columbus from Genoa, Italy, immigrated to Spain. With the profession of mapmaker and a hobby of sailing, he decided to take to the sea toward distant lands. History tells us that this was not an easy enterprise, for those were hard times and certain things like expeditions required a lot of money. But Columbus, being a man who did not lose heart easily, applied directly to the court of Spain and after much effort succeeded in borrowing 3 ships. With those ships and 100 men, Christopher Columbus sailed toward the west. It was the 3rd of August in the year 1492, and the 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, will forever remain in history. After stopping in the Canary Islands and waiting for favorable winds, Columbus took to the sea again, and for days and days he sailed toward the west. As usual, good fortune helps the fearless, and so after about a month and a few days, when the crews had already begun to protest, Rodrigo de Triana, a sailor on the Pinta, caught sight of land. It is the 12th of October, 1492, and despite being a little short of the mainland, Columbus has practically discovered America. Columbus, even more convinced to have found the right road to the Indias, took again to the sea, leaving the island that he baptized San Salvador, and headed to the south until he discovered Juana, a land that today we call Cuba. Columbus finally set foot in a land that looked like old Spain, which he named Hispaniola. It is the 5th of December, 1492, and Columbus has just discovered the island of Santo Domingo. 500 years passed, and today Hispaniola, otherwise known as Santo Domingo or the Dominican Republic, presents itself this way. Seemingly familiar images, wide panoramas with low hills in the background. Today, in this land so Caribbean, but for certain aspects so continental, 7 million people live. Some with white skin, others a little darker, and others very dark as a result of the massive importation of slaves from Africa in the colonial period. A people who arrived from South America long ago in a distant time. All that remains of these ancient people are carvings in rock, sculptures, and words like tobacco, hammock, hurricane, canoe, corn. With no alternate words for translation, the Spaniards adopted the words as they were. The island of Santo Domingo, placed as it is a few hundred kilometers south of the Tropic of Cancer, forms with Cuba, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico the Greater Antilles, and altogether divides the Atlantic Ocean from the Caribbean Sea. On the south coast, halfway, we find Santo Domingo de Guzman, which practically has always been the capital of the Dominican Republic. But if we want to tell its story, we are forced to start from another city, Isabela. Today, in what is left of the first town built in the New World, only a few remains still exist. With infinite patience, Professor Cruxman is trying to bring these remains into the light once again. Columbus intended for this town to be the capital during his second trip, and he named the town Isabela in honor of the Queen of Spain. But why did we have to arrive at Isabela to search for the origin of Santo Domingo de Guzman? Because it is exactly from here that Bartolomeo Colombo, curious as much as his brother Christopher, left with the idea of discovering how the island was made, of which little was known. And so, a little by foot and a little by horse, he headed south, To tell the truth, it was not only his love for geography that pushed Bartolomeo Colombo across the island, but also a discreet desire to find the gold of which everyone of the time was speaking, but that no one had been able to find. And so, at the beginning of August in 1497, Bartolomeo, instead of finding gold, found the sea. Eventually, he arrived exactly where a river, that today is called Rio Ozama, ended its journey. A couple of months later, 20 barracks, 100 souls, and a colossal drinking party celebrated the birth of the new city and the future capital. The old part of the city, as it is easy to imagine, is richer in history, starting from the fortress Ozama. We can say that in its almost 500 years of existence, the fortress has witnessed all the events that have made up the history of Santo Domingo. From the arrival of Christopher's son Diego as Viceroy of the New World, Admiral of the Ocean, and Governor of Hispaniola, to modern times, with the fortress being deservingly restored. In the garden of the fortress, a big statue honors Fernandez de Oviedo, who wrote the general story of the Indias, which is today a precious document. A small distance from the fortress, always keeping an eye on the sea, is the house of Diego Alcazar. The style is Gothic, mixed with Italian-Spanish Renaissance, and was in ruins until the 1800s, a century ago. Then it was restored and furnished with antiques. Here, for 77 years, the descendants of Christopher Columbus lived. And here, inside these rooms, the strategies of expeditions were mapped out. Strategies that resulted in the discovery and conquest of places like Cuba, Puerto Rico, Peru, Guatemala, Florida, Mexico. And here, many notable men passed like Vasco de Balboa, Pedro de Alvarado, Juan Ponce de Leon, Hernan Cortez, Amerigo Vespucci. Men both good and bad that have made the history of this part of the world. In the modern town, there are instead new skyscrapers that are increasingly taking the place of the older, unstable houses. Here, colors and odors mix together with the constant rhythm of merengue and the ongoing hum of the electric generators. Here, everything seems held together by chance, and it seems as if everything could stop to function at any time. Instead, everything continues to the beat of an infinite number of rumors. This is the town of the market and the stalls where you can find everything, including the best bargains if you can deal with challenging negotiations. But Santo Domingo is also the center of the Dominican culture. This is the National Library, the Museum of the Dominican Man, and the Modern Gallery of Art. In all the world, man has always been busy inventing games and challenges of every kind, probably to have a good motive to scream, to come to blows, to surrender, or when the odds are good, to bet and regularly lose one's shirt. We cannot say that the Dominican people are the exception. If the Italians have soccer and the Americans football, the Dominicans have taken baseball, and here people learn how to play before they learn to walk. For the matter of golf, there are numerous courses throughout the Republic, and Dominicans spend many hours of free time sailing or water skiing. But none of this counts when we speak about fighting cocks. We're not sure if it's a sport, a job, a pastime, or a collective craziness. Maybe it's a little bit of all of these things put together. Certainly all towns, villages, and even small settlements in the middle of nowhere have their galleries and heroes.
Taking the road that runs from the capital and brings us toward Punta Cana, the extreme corner of the island, and a few kilometers after the international airport, Las Americas, we arrive at Boca Chica, one of the most beautiful and most famous beaches in all of the Dominican Republic. It was exactly from here where the last lazy waves of what Christopher Columbus used to call the Big Ocean Sea subside on the beach. It was here at around 1970 the tourist development of the island started. But the area has always been something special. It must have been because President Trujillo, some 60 years ago, used to come here to rest from the tactics of government work. Since those years, Boca Chica has changed a lot, but the Dominican soul remains, smiling, happy, and noisy. Merengue, naive paintings, and Creole beauties still enchant. And it doesn't matter if a painting cost as much as a Van Gogh, a statue like a Ming vase, and a pearl necklace like a diamond necklace. At the end, people learn quickly, a little patience, and everything returns in the right measurement. Boca Chica loves people. It tans them. And between going up with a parachute, motorcycle riding, and passing the time with a sweet do-nothing attitude, the place continues to make its guests feel like royalty, kings and queens of the world. A few meters from the shore, the small island of Mangrove continues its vigilance on the long beach. With the help of a reef, it protects it from the big waves of the Caribbean Sea. In the extreme part of the bay, in a protected and reserved corner where the sea is even more blue, we find one of the most beautiful hotels of all the Dominican Republic, the Hamaca, a hotel that maintains all the promises of its 5 stars, positioned in front of one of the most beautiful seas in the world. More than 450 rooms, some of them facing the green of the tropical garden where there are spaces of bougainvillea flowers, hibiscus, and palm trees. Here the wind seems to make these flowers even more fragile, and the brilliant green, red, and yellow colors melt together in beautiful images, almost as if you were turning the pages of a big book of delicate and beautiful postcards. The rest of the rooms are facing the white beach and the thousands of shades of the blue of the Caribbean Sea. In the time of pirates, people slept under the stars, rocked by the noise of the sea. But today, we are a little more demanding and desire more. We prefer comfortable rooms with everything we need and maybe something a little more. So at the Hamaca, we can choose between deluxe and superior rooms or between the junior and senior suites. Each one, however, with TV, safe, refrigerator, and telephone. The Hamaca puts at your disposal, among other things, rooms for reunions and meetings that can be arranged differently according to your needs. The smallest room contains some 150 seats. The second, bigger, with 350 seats. And the largest room can seat 1,500 people. The tourist life on this side of the world not only consists of tans, romantic dinners, and sweet laziness, but also the possibility of taking advantage of the agencies that organize excursions to discover the island. In the capital, one can discover the old colonial city. To Saona, the island at the end of the world, where you can arrive with a motor launch after crossing pieces of sea with unreal shades of turquoise. A day riding on splendid catamarans that seem to appear out of a chic catalog. From Altos de Chavon, the town of artists that lives a life by its own, to a run to Samana and its splendid bay. For all of those that don't want to go away on excursions, there are some splendid hotel offers. A tennis game with friends on the court in front of the entrance. A trip looking for the treasures of Captain Morgan. Or horseback riding to admire the hidden beauties of the island. The hamaca, as we have already said, is facing one of the most beautiful bays of the Dominican Republic, and the long coral barrier that protects all of Boca Chica forms right in front of the hotel on a piece of tranquil sea. At a certain distance from the shore, there is a purposely created corridor for fast sports. As a result, watercycles, parasailing, giant banana, and motor launches cannot enter the hotel area, where you can do everything in the most complete security and sureness. Also in the Caribbean, lunchtime arrives, and the party appointment moves to the Las Arenas, at a step away from the sea. Here you find everything from a taste of Spain to delicious German dishes. From the spaghetti and savory tomato sauce to the French vegetable cream. From Mexican bean soup to the Creole dishes that are at the end a little bit of everything with a lot of fantasy. In the evening, on top of the buffet, the hamaca offers a choice of another two restaurants. This one and the Michelangelo, with table service and a more serious ambience. The dishes are from the Italian kitchen, a guarantee of quality throughout the world. Here we are instead at the Los Cojales, ambience more refined, elegant, perfect for an unforgettable night. After dinner, the appointment is at the theater, where a theater group of animation represents a different play every night. Just when it seems that nothing is left to do, a part of the hamaka turns on with new lights and a fascinating ball that turns around with the sure movements of a beautiful woman. And for those who still have some energy left over, there are the colored lights of the disco. Here no one counts the hours, and everything is lost in the rhythm of the night. We have arrived at the end of this journey in the Dominican Republic and in one of its most beautiful hotels. And only now we realize how many things we've left out that needed more attention. And in order to get to know each other more and better, the Hotel Hamaka invites you for an exclusive appointment here, in this land that Columbus described as the most beautiful land that human eyes have ever seen.